Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elise Bullock, the Associate Director for Economic Industrial Analysis. Welcome to the Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs webinar series. Today, I am introducing the webinar for Military Sealift Command. First, let me take a moment to direct your attention to our website, www.secnab.navy.mil/small-business, where you can find a wealth of information, including our Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs Operation Plan. You can also locate your small business professional and find information on how to do business with the Navy, including the long-range acquisition forecast. To learn more about upcoming events, I encourage you to connect with us on social media via our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Navy OSBP, twitter.com/Don_OSBP, LinkedIn, you can search Don OSBP, YouTube, you can also search Don OSBP. I would like you to join us for our premier Navy Procurement Conference this year. We're going viral for 2020. The Department of Navy and NDIA Gold Coast event is starting August 31st through September 2nd. So visit us at www.navygoldcoast.org. Now let me introduce to you Ms. Leah Baker, the Associate Director for Military Sealift Command. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. Well, good morning, afternoon, or evening from wherever you may be joining us. And I want to thank you for participating in today's webinar. I'm Leah Baker. I'm the MSc Director for the Office of Small Business Programs. And today I'm pleased to introduce Military Sealift Command on this webinar series. We have an exciting lineup to include presentations from Captain Susan Ayers. She's the MSc Contracting Director, and Mr. Ashil Brahnaman, the Contracting Director for MSC's Charters and Ship Operations Divisions. We will be addressing frequently asked questions with Ms. Jackie Alford, the Small Business Deputy Director, and Mr. Stephen Parker, the Deputy Director for Contracts and Business Management. So first, I want to provide an overview of Military Sealift Command and our small business programs. And I'll start by answering the most frequently asked question, and that is, who is MSC? We thought, what better way to introduce MSC than with a short video displaying who we are. Go ahead and play the video. All right, well, many thanks to the MSc Public Affairs team for putting together such a fantastic video. So if we can go to slide 2 on our slide deck. So MSc is the leading provider in ocean transportation for the Navy and DoD. The Navy turns to Military Sealift Command to develop, maintain, and operate the United States naval ships, or USNS, and contracted vessels. MSc is responsible for approximately 125 civilian crewed ships, and that replenish the U.S. Navy ships at sea, conduct specialized missions, pre-position combat cargo at sea around the world, and move military equipment and supplies to deployed U.S. forces. So as a type commander or TICOM, MSc is responsible for the ships assigned, including life cycle management, ship readiness, maintenance and repair, and logistics support. So MSc is a $2 billion obligating organization with operations in all 24 time zones. MSc provides services to the Navy, Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, U.S. Transportation Command, Missile Defense Agency, and other U.S. government agencies. Our workforce is approximately 7,600 people. This includes civil service mariners, active and reserve military personnel, and federal civil service employees. An additional 1,400 afloat commercial mariners also support our pre-positioning, special mission, and sea lift missions. Next slide. So MSc is an Echelon 3 TICOM that reports to 3 distinct leadership lines, and this includes U.S. Transportation Command for defense transportation matters as the naval component. We report to U.S. Fleet Forces Command for Navy unique matters, and we report to the Assistant Secretary for the Navy for research, development, acquisitions, for procurement, policy, and oversight matters. Next slide. So we have a presence all over the world. The MSc commander and headquarters is actually located at Naval Station Norfolk in Norfolk, Virginia. And MSc is also represented by 5 geographic area commands which exercise tactical control of all assigned U.S. Transcom forces and MSc forces not otherwise assigned to the numbered fleet commanders. MSc headquarters also has a detachment to U.S. Transcom at Scott Air Force Base and a Pacific Fleet Liaison Officer in Hawaii. Our offices are located in ports around the world to provide direct support to MSc ships and liaise with the local commands. Next slide. MSc promotes utilization of the small business enterprise within our mission and vision. We continually strive to promote an atmosphere throughout the command that promotes the utilization of small businesses and our acquisitions to support the achievement of dominant capabilities and ensuring the long-term success of the Department of the Navy. We believe that our mission can best be met by promoting a healthy and diverse industrial base comprised of both large and small businesses. And we also recognize that small businesses add value through innovation, flexibility, and affordability. Next slide. So MSc is one of 10 head of contracting activities in the Department of the Navy. We contract for a variety of supplies and services, obligating about $2 billion a year. And as you can see from this slide, the command obligated about $2.2 billion last fiscal year. That was the highest amount in the past 5 years. In fact, last fiscal year was a record year for MSc in terms of small business obligations as well. So nearly half of our dollars obligated in fiscal year 19 was obligated to small businesses, and that would be over $1 billion. So I'm proud to say that out of the 10 Department of Navy HCAs, MSc obligated the greatest proportion of dollars in fiscal year 19 to small businesses. Next slide. Right, so this slide shows our top 10 NAICS codes for industries where we procured supplies and services in fiscal year 19. So this gives you a good idea of what it is that we buy. The NAICS codes on this slide represent 90% of MSc's $2.2 billion obligations in fiscal year 19. And our next 2 speakers will go into more detail on our unique procurements. Next slide. All right, so this slide shows our achievements or the percentage of our obligations going to small business and our current goals for fiscal year 20. To further emphasize the amount of work that we do with small businesses, MSc was issued the highest small business goal for the Department of the Navy for fiscal year 20, and that would be 42.5%. Next slide. All right, so if you're new to MSC contracts or already have an established partnership with us, these tips are solid in taking those steps necessary to become and remain competitive in the federal market space. There are many tips on the slide, but one I want to highlight in particular for our procurements is to check beta.sam.gov frequently, not only for solicitations, but for various other announcements like sources sought notices or RFIs. So our contracting officers rely heavily on the responses from sources sought notices to determine the set-aside strategy. So it's important to respond to them if you feel that you're interested and capable of providing that requirement. So while this is only one form of market research, a sources sought notice is often the most efficient way for a contracting officer to conduct market research while juggling several other contract requirements. So very important that you respond to those. And speaking of announcements, MSC will be hosting a virtual industry day this fall, and all details will be posted on beta.sam.gov, so keep a lookout for the official announcement. Next slide. All right, so here's a little cheat sheet for you, complete with MSC's various websites and social media avenues. Also posted is our long-range acquisition forecast, updated just last month, and there you can find our anticipated contract awards over the next 3 years. Next slide. All right, so here's our contact information for the Office of Small Business Programs at MSC. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns regarding the small business programs, or just to make the connection. We look forward to hearing from you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Captain Susan Ayers, who will give you more insight on MSC procurements. So Captain Ayers is the Director for the Director of Contracts at Military Sealift Command since May of 2018. She leads a team of over 150 contracting professionals across the contracting offices in Norfolk, San Diego, and Guam. Captain Ayers, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Ms. Washington, as well. And I wanted to say that I'm absolutely thrilled to be having this with you and talking with you this afternoon. So good afternoon. I am Captain Susan Ayers, the Director of Contracts at Military Sealift Command. And it's just a great opportunity to be able to speak with the small business industry and to really talk about the procurements that we do uniquely here at Military Sealift Command, and also to not only reach those small businesses that we currently have procurements with, but to also see how we can collaborate and partner with future small business partners that are out there. And as a daughter of a small business owner, I understand the value that small business brings to the community. Military Sealift Command exists to support the joint warfighter across the full spectrum of military operations. And as mentioned, MSC is one of 10 head of contracting activities with unique procurement authorities. And these procurement authorities are very much going to the ocean vessel, ships, craft, afloat dry docking authorities, and repair facilities that we have within our fleet of ships at Military Sealift Command. Uniquely to Military Sealift Command are a lot of hulls that are commercial based, in essence, and so they have been built to commercial standards, and therefore we typically will go into commercial shipyards as well and utilize the small businesses and partners that we have for ship repairs on those commercial shipyards, on those commercial hulls, in essence. However, we still have some hulls that were transferred from the USS fleet to the USNS fleet, in essence, that are still a little bit more aged, but have some unique mil-spec requirements too. So a little bit of mix. And then we also see that there are several new hulls that are coming online in the future as well. And so we look forward to that and being able to procure with small businesses in the future with that. And so I want to emphasize too that Military Sealift Command's small business strategy is to promote small business as our first option throughout all phases of the acquisition life cycle. And so with that, we basically, believe that a healthy industry base is vital to the long-term success and affordability of the Department of the Navy, as well as our national security. MSC procures, as mentioned, over $2.3 billion of supplies and services annually. And these services and supplies that we do fall into three areas, in essence, three key areas within our lanes of procurement. Service contracts for training to our civilian mariners, and as well as with regards to specialty training for them to go back afloat, training to our civil service, and as well as to our military. So training opportunities arise throughout the ability to have procurements for Military Sealift Command. Logistics. So within our contracts that we do, we have an array of logistics contracts that not only provide services for warehousing, but to receipt and acceptance and auditability. And then we also have a tremendous amount of engineering support contracts as well. And so we not only focus on different types of services that go into training, logistics, engineering. We have our IT support for both our shore systems and our afloat systems. And what I would like to highlight too is our commodities, which is not featured often, but is a big part of what we do and deliver to the Navy and also to the nation, as we provide these at a global enterprise level basis for paint, lube oil, and chemicals. Our next area that we do our main procurements in are ship maintenance and repairs. Not only for voyage repairs, which are in shorter lengths of time, typically about 2 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks, but we also do procurements for our longer ones, which are our middle term availabilities, otherwise known as MTAs. And those broach into about 45 days to 60 days of maintenance and repair. We have our longer ones, our longer procurements that are for dry docking to allow us to keep up with our certifications and standards. And those take anywhere from 3 to 6 months as well. And then we do procurements on our emergent necessities, in essence, emergent repairs that not only include casualty parts and service supports. We do charters as well. So our big focus for this particular webinar will be within our charters division. And our charters are for our ocean-going vessels, as well as our harbor tugs. And then we will focus again within our operational and maintenance contracts that we have, which are our government-owned contractor operated, otherwise known as GOCO contracts too. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to my Director of Operations and Maintenance in the Charters Division, Ashil Broneman. I'd like to first recognize him. He's been with Military Sealift Command since 1991 and comes with a breadth of knowledge. He's done anything from services, from our ship repairs to our ship and operations charters, and mainly focused in our charters currently that we do for our ocean going. And prior to 1991, he sailed on MSC operated vessels. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Ashil Broneman.
All right. Thank you very much, Kat Mayers. Thank you very much, the Small Business Office, and thank you very much for industry for allowing me to take this opportunity to talk to you about something unique that MSC does to support the warfighter. Next slide, please. Kat Mayers mentioned that MSC has 3 lanes of services, or 3 lanes of procurement, and I'm biased. I feel that chartering is the most interesting, one of the most important lanes that MSC has. As Kat Mayers noted, I've been doing chartering with MSC since 1991, so I've been doing it for a few number of years. This brief today is going to be focused primarily on vessel chartering, not necessarily to teach you how we charter into detail, but to give an oversight of how we charter and how we use small businesses to assist us in meeting the warfighter's needs. As you'll see on this slide, and as previously stated, MSC has a variety of different missions when we take a look at vessel operations. We're both the Type Commander and Naval Component vessels. But one of the things that has been mentioned is that we are also a working capital fund for the Navy. And what that means is that we are available for other activities to approach us and pay a fee for us to go and do a contracting action for them. In many instances, that ends up being a particular charter. If an activity needs to have a vessel or needs to have a service accomplished that requires a ship, they'll turn to MSC and our expertise to obtain that vessel and to get that service. Next slide, please. This slide shows you where MSC gets its authorities and responsibilities from. As you'll see, the Navy Marine Corps Acquisition Regulation Supplement has MSC as the sole activity within the Navy and Marine Corps with the responsibility to charter vessels. This requires us then to perform vessel charters in support of Navy missions and Marine Corps missions. That's everything from small tugboats up to massive passenger vessels and cargo vessels. And it also includes everything from peacetime to wartime to contingency operations. It also includes and allows us to procure charter services, as I mentioned previously, for other activities, whether it's Special Forces Command, whether it's the U.S. Army or U.S. Air Force. Some examples of charters that you've seen in the news over the years was when the USS Cole was struck and needed to be brought back home. She was carried out on an MSC chartered heavy lift vessel. When the USS Fitzgerald had an incident in Japan and needed to be brought back stateside for repairs, that was also brought aboard a MSC chartered vessel. When we see disaster relief, such as Hades and the Far East, and even to a certain extent Fukushima, those are MSC chartered vessels that provided support. And one of the important things that we do in those instances, and one of the backbones of our ability to charter and meet missions, is we partner with industry to come up with innovative solutions to unusual missions. We'll walk through the process that we do that now. Next slide, please. Okay. There are basically two types of charters that we do within MSC. We categorize them as either a spot charter or a long-term charter. And we use those terms because they replicate what commercial industry calls various charters for vessels. A spot charter is a charter that's purely commercial, very short-lived. There's no modification that's going to be required for the vessel. And there's really nothing special that we're going to need the vessel to have in terms of capability other than cargo holds and cargo gear. These procurements are Part 12 procurements. They support primarily U.S. Transcom's mission of moving cargo around the world. We handle everything from containers to fuel oil, all the way up to tanks and aircraft that we haul around on spot charter vessels. A lot of the vessels that we use for spot charters are small businesses. And I'm really happy about that. And when you look at MSC's history during Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Bosnia-Herzegovina response, and other contingency operations during the past few decades, you find that most of our charters were with small businesses. When a need arises, your industry and small business groups come forward with the vessels we need to meet those missions, especially in the spot market. The next type of charters we have are what we call long-term charters. And these are ones with enduring needs, long-term charters that will last for up to 5 years. They require generally vessel modifications, and they require, in many instances, security clearances. So one of the things that I really would want to highlight with this is that we want to make sure that, excuse me, apologize. One of the things that I would want to highlight with this is we follow generally the same type of charter types that you see listed on the slide the commercial industry has. We issue one of 3 types of charters, whether it's a long-term charter or whether it's a spot charter. The types of charters are a voyage charter, and that's a point-to-point charter, generally carrying cargo. And again, it's for a commercial vessel that's available in the industry. We issue time charters. These are charters that are for a period of time, again, up to 5 years. And then very infrequently, we will issue what's called a bareboat or demise charter. That's where we take a vessel and we lease the vessel away from the owner. Now, one of the things I would want to stress, and you'll see at the bottom of this slide, is charters are, for the most part, not leases. They're considered service contracts. We're chartering for the particular, contracting and chartering for the particular service of a vessel to perform a maritime mission. Next slide. As I mentioned previously, this shows you the types of charters that we have both on the spot and on the long-term side. I'm not going to go through this slide again, but I will want to highlight that our charters, as you'll see, are for the most part procurements of a commercial nature. They're Part 12. In spot industry, a lot of times we also follow the 13.5 procedures, because since they're short-lived charters, we're able to turn them around fairly quickly, and also we're able to have a lower dollar value and get under the SAP threshold. Next slide. Now, one of the things that we look at when we look at the various types of charters are the timelines. Spot charters, as I said, are generally short-lived. We have a need to move an Army unit from East Coast out to Europe, or need to move aircraft from the West Coast out to Korea, or anywhere in the world. Those charters generally take about 14 days for us to award, from the date that we issue the solicitation to the date that we actually make the award. Longer term charters, since they're for 5 years and often require vessel modifications, the dollar value is much higher and the procurement process is much more formal. You'll see that those generally take about 200 days for us to award from the date we issue the RFP until the time that we'll go into more in depth on this various steps shown at the bottom of the slides here over the next few slides. Next slide. Procurement strategy. I'm showing my age. I know it's called sources sought now, but I still list it as market survey, and I apologize for that. But what we do, the primary first step that we have in any charter is we have to go out and test the market. We seek whatever sources are out there, and we survey the market to determine what vessels and what companies have vessels available for us to be able to respond to a particular mission. One of the things I would really want to stress with industry is when you see these come up online and you see that we're searching for a particular mission or a particular cargo or a vessel, please respond. Please respond even if your vessel doesn't exactly meet what we're looking for. If you can't meet the time frame or the dates, if you're a little off, if your vessel can't carry all the cargo, or your tugboat doesn't have exactly the horsepower we're looking for, please respond. One of the things we do is when we survey the market and we go out and we see what sources are out there, we often go back to our requiring activities and tell them, hey, we can get a US flag vessel if we're allowed to shift dates 1 or 2 days. We're able to get more competition if we're allowed to decrease the cargo size or increase the cargo size and combine different moves. We use it very much to try to really promote small businesses. If there's a way that we can get cargoes combined, or we can make shifts to the requirement to increase the number of small businesses that are available for a particular requirement, we make every effort to do so. So again, when we do these sources sought, please make sure that you respond. The other thing I would mention, and Leah touched on at the beginning, as we come out with these sources sought, please also let us know any innovative concepts you may have on meeting a particular mission. We have a number of vessels under charter right now which met a particular mission we had, but they don't look like at all what we expected them to look like when we first envisioned the requirement. Industry came in and showed us innovative ways through the chartering method to provide a vessel to us, and we got a better deal, and we got a better asset, and we got, in many instances, small businesses testing out new technology. Next. In this one, as I mentioned, the industry is constantly changing. Ships are changing. They're either increasing or decreasing in numbers. Often ships are delayed because of weather or cargo loadouts. We're seeing that right now in the Gulf region. So again, every time we have a solicitation, we go out and we do sources sought and test the market. One of the things that we particularly are interested in looking for whenever we do this is we want to make sure what vessels are out there. We want to make sure that we understand what US flag vessels are out there or what foreign flag vessels are out there. We also need to make sure that we know what vessels are Jones Act. And Jones Act capable vessels are ones that can move cargo between 2 points in the US or US territories. And again, the other thing that we're looking for are those alternate solutions, different ways of meeting cargoes or meeting missions. And I highlighted in red the fact that we use this information to make determinations to not set aside procurements. As with all federal procurements, our charters are automatically set aside for small businesses unless we determine that there is going to be inadequate competition or other of the exceptions available to us are met. So please, as small business industry partners, please respond to our sources sought. That way we can make sure that businesses or procurements will be set aside for your businesses, and we can take advantage of the opportunities and innovations that you provide. Next slide. Now, MSC charters vessels using a very commercial model. We use what's called a pro forma, and that basically is a model or standard contract and solicitation document. They're posted on MSC's website that you see there, and MSC has approximately 7 different pro formas that we use. They're different based upon the type of vessel and the type of charter. We have a charter type for dry vessels on a long term. We have a charter type for tankers on voyage charters. We have a type for bareboat charters, for passenger vessels, and for tugboats, and so on. You'll find all of them on MSC's website, and I would ask if you're interested in chartering or interested in understanding how we charter, please download them, take a look at them, and read through them. They're a little unusual in that, again, we try very hard to mirror commercial industry's format and practice. So if you're used to a FAR-based or a procurement that looks like it's FAR-based procurement, these will look different. They're still FAR-based, but they will look different. The other thing that we do that's a little unusual and helps speeds up our process in procuring ships is we interact a lot with ship brokers. Oftentimes ship owners, whether they're within the US or foreign, don't want to go out and read MSC charters and become intimately familiar. They just want to have someone get their vessel a cargo so that they can start making money. Similar to commercial industry, they will turn to a ship broker. We often work with brokers representing various ship owners to book our ships for cargo and to get long-term charters awarded to the companies. The other thing that's unusual for MSC that we do is we receive all of our offers electronically. They are emailed to us by the various ship brokers or ship owners. We evaluate them and we award everything electronically. It's been a long time since we've received hard copy offers in, or that we made awards using hard copy contracts. The one thing I would stress is during the solicitation phase, please ask questions. If something is not clear, if you think there's a different way of meeting a particular mission, ask a question, challenge us, and let us know. We oftentimes take a look at the industry inputs, and we've made changes to our requirements, made changes to our solicitations, and made changes to even our pro forma documents, our model contracts, so that we can accommodate new ideas or different approaches. Next slide. When it comes to source selection for our charters, we follow a very simple process of lowest price, technically acceptable. Sorry, the screens went blank. We do this because charters, while I'd like to think they're complex, and they can be depending on what goes wrong or what goes right with them, they're actually very simplistic in terms of valuation. We take a look at the cargo, we take a look at the offered vessel, and we determine technical acceptability. We take a look at the vessel owner or the vessel operating company, and we determine if they have a good past history. And then on the pricing side, we take a look at the cost of the charter, whether it's a daily rate or a lump sum rate, and we determine which one is the lowest price. So again, you'll see that most of our charters, as said on the slide, are low price, technically acceptable. Oftentimes, and I would want to stress on our spot charter side, these are the quick turnaround charters, we end up making awards off initial offers, especially if we get very clean offers in across the board. Again, it's a very simplistic type of requirement with a standardized contract format, standardized solicitation format, and submission format. So we do make awards fairly frequently off initial offers. I would ask that you keep that in mind if you do submit offers in under our spot charter side. Next slide. Okay. I want to switch gears here quickly. That was an oversight of what charters are and how we do them, how we do the issuance, the pro forma system we use in the model contracts, how we do our source selection. But I want to switch gears and go quickly to our operating contracts. Our operating contracts are where we have government-owned vessels that are operated by contractors, and the contractors are in charge of executing whatever mission the vessel has been assigned, whether it's a wartime mission, peacetime mission, or humanitarian mission. They're required with maintaining the vessel, bringing them into dry docks, getting supplies, services, and everything needed to operate that particular vessel. Right now, MSC has 47 such vessels across its fleet. Aboard each one of those vessels, there is a cadre of contract mariners, and ashore, to handle all those vessels, there are numerous companies that operate them. We have quite a few small business operators, and I'm very proud about that. And I'd ask if you're interested in learning how to operate vessels or learning about vessel operations, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to sit down with you over this type of system or over the phone. We can talk to you about how to break into that market and also what we're looking for in a vessel operating company. If you're not interested in becoming a vessel operator but provide services or supplies to vessels, I would also stress very, very much to reach out to our operating companies, even the small business firms. Talk to them about what their needs are, what type of services they require, whether you're in engineering services or whether you're husbanding type services. They need those, and they can always use small businesses and their subcontracting opportunities. Next slide. One of the things I wanted to highlight with that in mind was these are our primary vessel operating companies right now. We have a number of solicitations out on the street. This list may change, and it does vary every now and then. But for the most part, these are our companies that we use for vessel operations. So again, if you are interested in providing services or supplies to our ships, whether they're MSC government-owned, government-operated vessels, in which case we come to MSC, or our government-owned contractor-operated vessels, please reach out to us, or in my instance with my contracts, reach out to our vessel operating companies. That's all I have. I'll turn it back over for the FAQs.
Okay, so I believe in this part here, we're going to do the frequently asked questions that we have, and I think Jackie was going to kick that off. If not, we can just go ahead and dive right into it. So typically what we have for our frequently asked questions are, does MSC procure IT and cyber security support requirements? And what are MSC's procurement strategies for future IT and cybersecurity support, excuse me. And so, so the answer really is that we have in the past, yes, procured IT services. I've mentioned that in the and basically our portfolio of services that we provided, IT for not only our ashore systems, but also IT support for our float systems. However, we are also working in our follow-on procurements with our new IT requirements through other contracting entities, agencies that we work with within the Department of Defense, DITCO and NAVWAR, also as well as Gsa. So it's just a matter of really focusing and looking at beta.sam.gov to determine where, if that requirement is an MSC requirement, or if maybe Gsa or DITCO is actually doing those contracting efforts on behalf of MSC or even NAVWAR.
Okay, the next question is actually for Leah, and we get this question a lot. What are the top NAICS codes utilized to procure or used to utilize procured by MSC?
All right, so this question is actually answered on the slide. So you will be provided these slides, or I think these slides are posted on the website. But if you refer back to slide 7, it listed our top 10 for fiscal year 19. But I'll just go ahead and list the top 3, and that's a good breadth of the different types of supplies and services. So the top one is 483111, and that's deep sea freight transportation. So that would be those procurements procured through Shield Broadman's group. 336611, that's ship repair, shipbuilding and ship repair through our ship repair and ship maintenance team. And then 541330, engineering services, is the top, rounding out the top three for our support service group.
Well, Leah, there's another question for you. Where do I find information on the status of requirements? Technical managers and contracting personnel are not answering my calls. What can I do to get their attention?
Right, so we in the small business office recommend that you contact our office first prior to engaging with technical managers or contracting officers. So we can assist you with answers to most of your questions, and if not, we can put you in touch or with somebody that can.
Okay, this question is for Steve. A contractor said, I'm interested in simplified acquisitions below 25K with MSC. These requirements are typically not posted on beta.sam, beta.sam.gov. How can I find out if you buy what I sell and the proper POC? I'm also interested in finding out who at MSC has a purchase card and utilizes it to make micro purchases.
All right, thank you, Jackie. The answer is procurements below $25,000 are not required to be posted to betasam.gov, although you may find some of the MSC requirements posted below that threshold, pending that particular contracting officer's decision. So what that means is typically if we have a requirement that's difficult to fill, or that we know we need more information from industry, we will post it even if it's below the threshold. And the contracting officer certainly can make that decision. And then multiple purchases are made each year through the program for numerous requirements. Feel free to reach out to our small business representatives for information on small business opportunities.
Well, Steve, there's another question for you. Does MSC utilize Seaport NXG, GSA schedules, or any other GWAC to procure requirements?
Yes, MSC does use Seaport, NXG, GSA schedules, DLA schedules, and other GWACs to procure requirements. We always look for, and in accordance with the FAR, figuring out ways to achieve greater economies of scale by not having to reinvent the wheel each time. So if we can find what we're looking for, we certainly go those avenues and look for those opportunities.
And Steve, how can I sell PPE to MSC?
Again, Jackie, this answer is very similar to the previous question, and the best bet would be to get listed on GSA schedules and or DLA. They can help you and assist you in getting your PPE products listed on there and available. Many of those GSA contracts, DLA schedules also have on-ramps. So multiple times through a contract's life, they allow new entrants in there. They just have to be screened, and you can contact them on GSA or DLA's website to get help and assistance in that manner.
Okay, thank you. Now this is for Ashil. How do I find out about subcontracting opportunities for ship repair contracts?
Okay. I recommend that contractors interested in subcontracting opportunities check award notices on beta.sam.gov for MSC ship repair awards. They should have the contractor's name and address and award amount. I'd encourage those interested in subcontracting opportunities to keep an eye out for the sources sought notices as well that we post to beta.sam.gov. And also the ones that the shipyards may post there. Many shipyards look to small businesses to provide work items and to do work within their yard. So Please keep that in mind and use beta.sam as a way of finding those particular sources and seeing when we make awards. When an award is made, you can approach the prime contractor, reach out to them and see if they can use you or your services for any of their work items. I also know there are commercial organizations like the Virginia Ship Repair Association where companies can join and network. I would check your area for similar organizations that can get you tied into the shipyards. Lastly, I would recommend, as I mentioned during my brief, that you reach out to some of our operating companies. Maersk Lines, Tote, USMMI, Crowley. They have various awards. They have various web-based systems that they use for procuring both large ship repair and smaller work items, ship availabilities, and individual work items. So please reach out to them and determine and talk to them about how they procure those type of services.
Captain Ayers, this is for you. How can a contractor provide innovative services, products, or ideas to MSC?
Thank you. So as we've said and throughout the webinar, we're always looking for innovative ways and initiatives that small business may bring to MSC. We don't have a particular formal process on doing that. We have a group within internal of MSC called the Teluga Group that looks for these innovative and agile solutions that small businesses provide. Often those are procured through our Transcom. You know, as mentioned, we have a Transcom lane, or we utilize the R&D capabilities through ONR. So you'll just want to be able to ensure that you're still looking at that betasam.gov. Or what they do is also with some of the R&D efforts, they will do broad area announcements. ONR may utilize OTAs as well, and so they may be doing that on behalf of MSC. So I would say that you want to really have your eye looking out at other organizations, not only within the Navy, but other agencies such as Transcom that may be assisting on those innovative ideas. I will say, though, that if you have them, often in our industry days, it's a great opportunity to, when we do have them, we'll have the virtual one, but to still bring up the capabilities that you may have to bring those new and innovative ways and solutions that you may have that we may need to the table.
Thank you. This next question is for you, Achille. I noticed that charter requirements have both U.S. and foreign flag vessels in their source of sought notices. How does the Jones Act apply to MSC charter requirements?
Okay, it's a good question. There are numerous laws that govern the charter of vessels by MSC, some going back as far back as the mid-1800s. With that in mind, I want to address a little more than just the Jones Act. When MSC conducts a sources sought for charters, unless there is a firm reason not to do so, we always ask for input from both U.S. flag and foreign flag industries. This again lets us see what the whole market is and gives us a well-rounded snapshot so that we can ensure that we understand what ships are out there and what capabilities are out there to provide a particular mission. In making our determination whether procurement should be solicited full and open or set aside, we generally consider only U.S. companies and U.S. flagged responses. If our solicitation is a movement between 2 points within the U.S., then it has to be Jones Act, and we would consider only Jones Act vessels in making our small business determination.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to get to a few questions that have come up on the live stream so we can get to some of those answered. So let me start off with the first one. It says, what if I can help with a digital transformation, digital automation, reducing repetitive engineering tasks, but I don't see that work in an RFP?
So what I can say for that is that we are looking at different ways of doing either reverse engineering or the digital automation. We have just stood up adaptive manufacturing section within our engineering portion of MSC, and that's tied to the Department of the Navy's initiative to do more additive manufacturing. and it's beginning in that stage. So if you have any, again, if there are anything that you may have that may be able to assist us, it's most likely within our engineering branch that you can tap into to see if there's a capability that you have that we can utilize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have another question. It's a two-part. It says, does MSC buy through Gsa Advantage for electrical components like lighting? And what is the best point of contact to discuss supplying marine-grade lighting to MSC?
So Elise, I can answer that question. Yes, we do buy lighting and things like that on our afloat. We do those through a number of different avenues. Some are procured through particular parts of a ship repair or a MTH, MTA, ROH repair during the shipyard, which obviously would be subcontracted out. So the key here is to keep your eye on sam.gov, not just for betasam.gov, not just for things on lighting, but look at the ship repair itself. There may be lighting components in there that are being serviced or repaired. We also utilize, as we discussed previously, GSA and DLA for purchases similar to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Does MSC utilize 8A sole source contract vehicles for service contracts?
Go ahead and
I
take
can
that.
answer. Okay, go ahead, Leah.
So we do, and a good way of tracking that would be to go again through beta.sam.gov and looking at previous awards. So if you wanted to find out what previous contracts were awarded under the 8A program, that's a good way of finding out or looking at that as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Has MSC been given any additional funds for the federal government to overcome operational challenges due to COVID-19?
So MSC has not been given additional funds from the federal government. I know that there are kind of maybe there's a movement afoot perhaps in the next stimulus ban provided by Congress that perhaps there'll be some effort that will be given to the Department of Defense, but to date, no. There has been no additional funds given to MSC for COVID mitigation. COVID-19 mitigation.
Okay, thank you, Captain. Next question. Does your organization explore approaches for reducing fuel costs and the likes?
So our fuel costs are actually, those are actually standard DLA rates. And so we are charged at the DLA rate for our fuel costs.
Thank you, Captain. Next question.
Just quickly, this is a shield on the fuel thing question. One issue I would want to highlight, and this is just drawing on things. MSC does always look for any technology or innovations that can reduce fuel consumption aboard the vessels. And so any ideas, anything of that nature, you know, MSC would be more than interested in hearing about it. Because one of the most expensive things of operating a ship or a whole fleet of ships is the fuel consumption. And over the years, we have taken technology, new technology, and put it on our ships to reduce the fuel consumption.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question. Do you procure any manufacturing related components such as casting, machining, fabrication, assemblies, and reverse engineering?
We typically do not procure those things. We do have, some of our vessels have small machine shops incorporated into their services that they can provide afloat while at sea. However, MSC as a whole we don't typically see those types of procurements.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question. Screen jumping. I saw NAICS code you support 541, 513. We are classified with NAICS code 541, 511, computer programming and service. Would that be supported, or do we need to add 541, 513 NAICS code to our profile? And who's the person to contact to evaluate the opportunities for this NAICS?
I'll take that question. So you're more than welcome. We encourage you to reach out to the small business office, and we'd be happy to take a look at your capability statement and see if it fits with what it is that we procure. That particular NAICS code, one thing that we didn't mention for the top 10 NAICS codes for FY19 did include some of those obligations that we did off of previous IT type of requirements. So those would be orders cut on existing contracts. So we wouldn't necessarily be procuring that in the future, as Captain mentioned. That might be going through other agencies that do procure that. But feel free to reach out to the small business office and we'll walk you through that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is says for Captain Ayers. I work for a company that has a DLA tailored logistics support prime vendor contract that expedites MIPPers and mill strip procurements for commercial off-the-shelf items. This DLA-sponsored program reduces the procurement process for sometimes months to weeks. How can I get in front of MSC's contract group to introduce this prime vendor contract?
So I would say that it would be a good opportunity to see what particular supplier service. It seems like it's an array. So it would just be contacting our office, either myself, and then we can set up a time within that division that basically your specialty would come through too.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, the next question is loop. We just jump, apologize. Lube oil procurement falls under commodities. Which department procures it?
So our lube oil basically falls under our service contracts for in support of our engineering division, and that one is basically on a IDIQ contract that we have that is an existing contract, and so therefore you will most likely not see that since it is under a new existing IDIQ.
Okay.
Now it's a possibility that there will be something. Just look and see, but most likely it is falling under that existing IDIQ contract.
Okay, thank you. We have time for at least one more question. Let's see. Are there any partnerships with Naval X or incubator lab competition postings we should be on the lookout for?
So I will say that I think the Naval X established a Mid-Atlantic region, and we at MSC are looking forward to working more in the Naval X Mid-Atlantic region and being part of that group. As far as what to come in the future, just wait and see, and we'll see if that's something that MSC will be more involved with.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can throw in one more. Can you elaborate on the new hulls MSC will be procuring in the coming years?
So MSC doesn't procure the new hulls. NAVSEA is the procurer of our new construction ships for the Department of the Navy, and within them there are several of the program offices that we work with in concert that actually are in the process of bringing on those new hulls. I would say to probably the most likely place to look at is NAVSEA's long range acquisition forecast that, similar to what we have, would also be a good way to see what is coming online on behalf of MSC. It'll have all of the ships in essence, but we are not the ones that are doing the procurement of those ships.
Okay, thank you.
I clarify that. Mm-hmm. We will, in essence, provide the life cycle sustainment of them once they are delivered in the out years. These ships are many years. There are some in conceptual process of being designed now. So as with all shipbuilding, it takes several years to do and implement. However, it's still a good time to start to formulate your plans and look at that and see, and NAVSEA's website would be the best to look at.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, you all, this has, we have reached our time limit. The questions that we did not get to on live, we will get those questions answered for you and respond and post them to our website. So again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Mhm.